Okay, so welcome to part 2 of our lesson. We are going to look at the answers for this activity. For number 2, since number 1 is already here in the example, we can just go ahead and do number 2. There is habitat loss, so animals are moving into towns and cities. Or you can say there is habitat loss, therefore animals are moving into towns and cities. And again, keep in mind that if we use therefore, we need to put a semicolon here and then a comma after the connector. So after therefore. Okay? And we can do the same thing for all of these sentences. We can just read the cause and then use a results connector, a results clause with so or therefore. Animals are moving into towns and cities, so the animals are frightened. The animals are frightened, therefore sometimes they attack people. Wild animals sometimes attack people, so people are afraid of them. People are afraid of wild animals, so they kill the animals, or therefore they kill the animals. Now, in this case, it's also good to use them. People are afraid of wild animals, so they kill them. Just like here, wild animals sometimes attack people. People are afraid of them, which is talking about wild animals. And even here, it's good to use a pronoun. So instead of animals are moving into towns and cities, so the animals are frightened. Instead of so the animals, we can use the pronoun they. Okay, so they are frightened. Now let's look at the cause clauses. So we can say, since there is habitat loss, animals are moving into towns and cities. Since animals are moving into towns and cities, they are frightened. Since the animals are frightened, sometimes they attack people. Since wild animals sometimes attack people, people are afraid of them. And since people are afraid of wild animals, they kill them. Okay? Now, that's really easy because we just put since at the beginning of the cause clause. And the same thing, you can put because in front of the cause clause. So because there is habitat loss, animals are moving into towns and cities, and so on. Now, as we discussed earlier, you can also put the cause clause at the end. So the connector will be in the middle. We would read the effects clause first. We would say, animals are moving into towns and cities because there is habitat loss. Or animals are moving into towns and cities since there is habitat loss. Okay, so the cause clause is at the end. Okay, the animals are frightened because they are moving into towns and cities. Sometimes animals attack people because they are frightened. Okay, so if we put the effects clause first, of course you want to use the actual noun, the common noun, instead of the pronoun. And then you can use the pronoun in the cause clause if it's at the end. So again, sometimes animals attack people because they are frightened. Okay? And same thing here. People are afraid of wild animals because they sometimes attack people. Okay? And then here too, we can say people kill the animals because or since they are afraid of them. Okay? Alright, so let's move on. We are going to look at exercise 3, communicate. Okay, it says work in a small group. So if you want, you can work with your children or someone in your family. If not, as usual, you can just do this on your own. But let's read the newspaper headlines and discuss the possible causes and effects of each event. Okay? And then if you have time, you can think of other possible headlines to discuss. Environmental headlines pop up all the time. As you know, the climate is changing and there are all kinds of effects. So you can probably think of a lot of other headlines. Okay, so let's look at the examples. So coyotes are losing their natural habitats, so they're moving into towns, and you can see that this is for this newspaper headline. Another coyote moves into town. Okay, and here's another sentence, which is also for this headline. Coyotes are moving into towns because they're losing their natural habitats. So this one is an effects clause, and this one is a cause clause. And this is optional, but it's pretty common to make a general sentence out of a particular or specific incident. So as you can see in this newspaper, it's about one specific coyote that moves into town, but we know that this is just one example of many other similar situations of coyotes in general moving into towns because they are losing their natural habitats. So as you can see, we can use the plural forms instead of the singular form. So here too, whale washes up on shore. This is just one whale, but it's just an example of many similar instances of other whales washing up on shore. Let's see, now this one is plural, and this one is also plural. Fish is singular and plural. So anyway, just keep that in mind as you make these sentences, that you can make a general sentence, so general information, so you can use plural. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so let's take a look at the second one. We might say, whales are washing up on shore, or you can just say whales are washing up, because that means they are washing up on shore. So whales are washing up on shore because of ocean pollution, or pollution of our oceans. Or you might have heard of something called sonar, S-O-N-A-R. Sonar is like sound waves produced by like military equipment, and it can confuse confuse whales and other marine life. So as you know, a lot of marine mammals like whales and dolphins use a type of sonar called echolocation to orient themselves, so they know where they are, their position, and to find food, and to communicate. So when military sonar confuses them, they sometimes wash up on shore. So anyway, again, we can say whales are washing up. So you also can notice that we use present continuous tense because this is a continuing occurrence. It's a continuing event. So coyotes are still losing their natural habitats. Whales are still washing up on shore. So we can say whales are washing up on shore because of sonar confusion. Okay, or that's a cause clause. That's using because, and of course you can say whales are getting confused because of military sonar, so they are washing up on shore. Okay, so that's just an example. I'm sure you have other sentences. Let's keep going. We can say polar bears are drowning as ice caps melt because of global warming. Okay, so again we can say global warming causes ice caps to melt, so polar bears are drowning. And then the last one, where have all the fish gone? Okay, so this headline is in a question form. So we might say, fish are disappearing, because it says, where have they gone? So fish are disappearing because of polluted waters. So similar to, whales washing up on shore, and many other marine animals dying because of polluted waters or pollution. We can use that for this example as well. So fish are dying, or fish are disappearing because of polluted waters. And as you know, in that case, I used because of, which requires a noun phrase to follow. But you can also use a clause, like because the waters, or because pollution is increasing. So you can say, the fish are disappearing because pollution is increasing. And in that case, it's a clause. It has a subject and a verb. So, again, fish are disappearing because or since pollution is increasing in our oceans. And there is another reason, actually, why a lot of fish populations are decreasing, and that's because of overfishing. Too many fish are being caught because, of course, worldwide people enjoy eating fish. Sushi is very popular. So we can say people are overfishing, so all the fish are disappearing, or all the fish are gone. And you might have thought of some other real-life situations. Well, actually, these are all real-life situations, but maybe something that was very well-known, like the BP oil spill. I'm sure many of you have heard of that, but I think it happened about 10 years ago. But BP, which is an oil company, more specifically, I think it was called the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. So that's the company. And because so many gallons of oil spilled into the ocean, many animals died. And many animals washed up on shore. And also, even if they didn't die, there were so many animals with, especially birds, that couldn't fly because they had so much oil covering them. So if you lived in the United States at that time, it was really big news. And I'm sure globally it was also big news too. But anyway, so you can use that as an example as well. Okay, we're going to look at a worksheet now. Okay, so lesson C, connectors. Let's look at exercise A. Complete the sentences, then match each cause with an effect. Okay, so you can see 4 words: energy, growing, melting, and rising. And you can see the causes here and effects here. So first, we are going to complete the sentences. So don't worry about the letters, B, A, C, D, whatever. Don't worry about those yet. Let's just complete these, the big blanks, okay, with one of these words. So, for example, you can see the ice caps are melting. So you don't need to use this one anymore. So go ahead and complete each sentence with the blank, here, here, and here. And then when you're finished, match each cause with an effect. Okay, so I'm going to give you some time to do that. You can pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so number 2. No, I'm sorry. Actually, let's look at number 4 first. The sea level is, and we can say, rising. Okay, the sea level is rising. We don't say the sea level is growing. We normally say the sea level is rising. Okay, and then we will need other sources of energy. Then, number 6, the world population is growing. Okay, not rising, but growing. They're very similar, but rising is normally talking about like from one level to another level. And then the world population is growing or expanding, like in numbers. Okay, and then now let's look at the cause and effects. So people are cutting down trees. Okay, so the effect is animals and birds have fewer places to live. So letter E. And then number 3, we are using up gas and oil. Okay, so the effect is letter C. We will need other sources of energy. Okay, so as you know, we have solar energy. That's a very popular alternative energy. Renewable energy. Renewable means that you can make it new again. Renewable. So it can be used again and again. And also wind energy. Okay, so let's keep going. The sea level is rising, and let's see. That means islands are sinking. So letter F. Okay. Number 5, there is not enough rain. Okay. People cannot grow as much food. And then the world population is growing. Okay. Cities are getting larger. Okay. So now, use these causes and effects to make sentences. Okay. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Okay. So let's look at the first example. The oceans are getting warmer, so the ice caps are melting. Okay, and you have to use so, and it's lowercase, so make sure you put it at the end of the sentence. So the connector needs to be in the middle. Okay, and as you can see here, since is capitalized. That means you need to use it at the beginning. And then here, so is lowercase, so you need to use it at the end. And then therefore is capitalized, but keep in mind, a results clause needs to come at the end. So as you can see, there's a period here. Okay, so therefore will begin with a capital letter. Okay, but you get it, right? So go ahead and complete exercise B using these causes and effects. Okay, so pause the video and continue when you're finished. Okay, so let's do number 2. Okay, and as I mentioned, since is capitalized, so we need to use it at the beginning. Okay, since people are cutting down trees, and there's a comma here already, you can say animals and birds have fewer places to live. Okay, and then number 3 is so, and it needs to come here because it's lowercase. Okay, so we can say we are using up gas and oil. Okay, so we will need other sources of energy. Okay, and then number 4, therefore needs to come at the end, yeah. So after the main clause, but it's going to be another sentence. Okay, so we can say the sea level is rising. Okay, and then we end it here. As you can see, there's a period. And then we start a new sentence. Therefore, islands are sinking. Okay, and then number 5, since is capitalized, so we need to put it at the beginning. Since there is not enough rain, comma, people cannot grow as much food. Okay, and then the last one, because is also capitalized, so let's put it at the beginning. Because the world population is growing, okay, comma, cities are getting larger. Okay. All right, so let's look at exercise C. It says complete the sentences with the correct connectors. This one should be pretty easy, okay? So you can pause the video and continue when you're finished. Actually, we have reached the 20-minute mark, so go ahead and go to part 3 of the lesson, okay? When you're finished.